Dark Midnight presents the Juliette Society Book 3, The Mismade Girl by Sasha Gray. Narrated by Pippa Jane. To all of you. Prologue. Knowledge is power. At least that's what we're told. It's another of those pretty sayings that is meant to tempt us or condemn us, put the onus of our decisions back onto our shoulders, weighing us down with our agency like a yoke. If you don't bother informing yourself, whatever happens next is your own fault because you chose to be ignorant, right? It's what they want us to believe, so we'll look inward when things go wrong, instead of trying to burn the system to the ground. But then they tell us ignorance is bliss, and make that side of the fence look pretty damned appealing when we've seen too much, known too much, done too much, and long for an escape. And yet, we can never truly go back once we've crossed the line. Pandora's box can't be closed once the lid's been cracked open for a harmless little voyeuristic peek. Things can't be unlearned. So if we look, we must plow ahead, forever changed by the things we know, even if no one can see the information burning beneath our skin, inside our minds and hearts. Knowledge is power. Application of that knowledge is wisdom. But it's also complication. For what are you going to do with the things you've learned? Offense, defense, weapon, or shield, the things we learn can make us actively powerful or passively strong. It's all about the choices we make. 3 years ago, I left a towering monolith in the desert after finding out a lot about the world I live in, and myself. I lost myself inside the life of a dead woman, a provocateur named Inana Luna, whose life mission had been creating art through the medium of sexual imagery and acts meant to push the limits of what sexuality is. I found the Juliette Society again. I had a surreal threesome with DeVille and his double. A USB stick had been placed in my possession with the invitation to go a little further on my journey of self-discovery, for that's what it was. The choice was mine to make. Though I'd had no idea it was a path I was taking at the time, I chose to tell Inana's story instead of living more of mine. I chose to tell everyone about who she really was, who women like her, true provocateurs, really are, and why we need them in the world. Her story was more important in that moment to me than the journey deeper down the rabbit hole of the Juliette Society, though I left their name out of the story I gave to my newspaper for obvious reasons. It was my choice not to look at the contents of the flash drive right away. It disappeared from my possession when I went back home and handed in my article, and I took that as a sign from TJS that our time together was over. I'd diverged from one destination when I'd chosen to go ahead with Inana's story, instead of choosing to stay with TJS, and while I don't know what I'd have found, I lived with my decision. I've lived well with it. Profited. At the time, it made sense. The article led to interviews, the biggest of which being with my old buddy Forrester Sachs. Ironically, he probably knew Inana better than I did, having frequented the secret rooms beneath the hotel she worked at enough to be a VIP member himself. I saw him there, strapped down while a dominatrix rammed a Jesus-on-the-cross-shaped dildo the size of my forearm in a very uncomfortable place. Sitting with him, being filmed while he looked austere and serious in a three-piece suit, asking penetrating questions, pun intended, made me want to laugh. But the interview was important and it was perfectly executed. Maybe because he'd known and cared about Inana too. Besides, he owed me a favor for my silence. Not that I'd have exposed him. Sometimes people's low opinions of you or fears will encourage them to be very accommodating. The interview led to huge